Well, hello again. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is, where you are, it is good. And I'm grateful to be here with you as we begin this series and as we begin tapping into this vibration of the evergreen and looking at some of the powerful symbols of this season. Now, recently I learned something that I didn't know. I learned something about lemons that I didn't know, and maybe you already knew this, but lemons are not naturally occurring fruit. Actually, we get lemons because they were cultivated. And it's interesting, a lemon is actually a cross, a hybrid of a sour orange and a citron. What's even more interesting than that is that a sour orange is also a hybrid fruit. That a sour orange was created by crossing a pomelo with a mandarin. So a pomelo and a mandarin had a baby. It was a sour orange. And that sour orange met a citron and they had a baby. And that baby is a lemon. Right? And I think that's really interesting because, again, I didn't know that. It, of course, makes us think about the idea of when life gives you lemons, make lemonade, but the truth is life doesn't give us lemons, right? Humans made lemons, which is an interesting thing to think about, right? That oftentimes we recognize that we are the creators of some of the challenges in our lives. But when I think about the fact that, as I said, a pomelo and a mandarin had a baby called a sour orange, and a sour orange and a citron had a baby called a lemon, it really speaks to me about the power of the creative process and manifestation. And so we could take some new and create and craft new powerful sayings and adages based on that. But I'm not here to talk about lemons today. While lemons may be the result of cultivation, the symbols we use during this holiday season are ancient in origin, and that is the evergreen. When we look at pine trees, for instance, pine trees first appeared 125 to 130 million years ago. Pine trees have been around a long time. For perspective, our first human ancestors don't show up until about 5 million to 7 million years ago, right? So pine trees have existed and experienced existence for far longer than our human ancestors. It's interesting also, pine trees live as young as 100 years old to 1,000 years old, and even one of the oldest species, which is named Methuselah, is actually 4,800 years old. Now, in addition to pine trees, we also have other evergreens that we use during this holiday season, like holly and even eucalyptus, which is an evergreen. But these are not the only evergreens. Other evergreens, the entire rainforest, all the wonderful trees that cover the rainforest, which remain green in and out of season, are evergreens. Moss is an evergreen, and even most types of bamboo are also evergreens. Now that Halloween and Thanksgiving are over, everywhere we go, we see Christmas trees, we see Christmas wreaths and garlands and holly. Christmas time is here and the symbols are here. We can turn on the TV, we see the symbols in the commercials, not just for selling us things, but trees, wreaths, and garland and holly are also in those commercials and in the advertising. And our subconscious minds are being inundated with a spiritual truth that is hidden in plain sight. Christmas is a winter holiday. It's a season that is represented by cold, ice, and snow. We dress in layers and warm coats. We wear hats, scarves, and gloves. We drink warm drinks and sit by the fireside, or at least sing about sitting by the fireside, because of and during this season. And in the midst of this season of cold, of snow and ice, and even potential death, we have these symbols of life, these symbols of resilience, these symbols of thriving in all or in the midst of difficult conditions. We have these symbols of hope. And so looking at these symbols of hope, I'm going to call on the principle of correspondence from the Kabbalion. And the principle of correspondence is very simple. It says, as above, so below, as below, so above. And what is essentially teaching us by using this principle is that what we see in nature is also within us. And what is within us is also in nature. There is a correspondence. There is a similarity. There is a close connection. Just as the evergreen was designed to thrive where other plant species cannot, today I say to you that you have been handcrafted for this world. I know there's a lot going on. I know that you sometimes love to live in a different world or a different time, but the truth is you were handcrafted for this world. Affirmation time. Let's affirm this together. I am handcrafted for this world. I am handcrafted for this world. One more time. I am handcrafted for this world. Now, I love that word handcrafted. It's a very specific word, because it implies so many different things. The Oxford Dictionary defines the word as made skillfully by hand. We affirm in New Thought that we are individualized expressions of God. Inspired by Willis Kinnear, you hear me often say in prayer, we are individualized and particularized expressions of God. This particularization speaks to the specificity and uniqueness of you. You are God's good idea. Think about it for a second. We all have good ideas, yes? But then there are those good ideas that we get excited about. Then there are those good ideas that not only do we get excited about, what we act on. And there are those good ideas that we act on and we make plans and goals and bring it into full manifestation. You are not just God's good idea, you are God's good idea made manifest. Handcrafted for this world. Nothing about you is a mistake. Nothing about you is a flaw. You were made with skill and intention. You were thought of, contemplated, desired, and manifested as the beautiful and powerful spiritual being that you are, having a human experience. You are handcrafted for this world. Can we affirm it together? I am handcrafted for this world. I am handcrafted for this world. I am handcrafted for this world. And this you must know, or otherwise you will fall back or check out from living, from engaging with and shaping this world. Yes, I know the state of the world, and especially right now. I see all of the division. I see all of the wars and rumors of wars. I see the abuse and manipulation and gaslighting. Yes, I see the folly and foolishness in our governments. Yes, I know how easy it is to fall into dismay and despair. But as you look to the evergreen, you can't go anywhere right now, turn on the TV, as I said earlier, and not encounter this symbol. As you look to the evergreen, you see that for over 100 million years, it has thrived through winter after winter after winter after winter. And the same thing that is in the evergreen is in you. You were handcrafted for this season, just as the evergreen was handcrafted for this season. And think about it for a second. This is not something that the evergreen had to consciously do. Just by being who and what it is, it thrives in these conditions. It was designed this way. It was in the seed, and it simply expresses what it is. Being green in the midst of ice and snow. Being green in the midst of experiences and conditions that can destroy other species. But this thing, it thrives. You were handcrafted for this season in the human timeline. Now, I was reminded, and many of you may be, I'm sure, familiar with the work of Dolores Cannon. She's someone that does a lot of work working with folks or I should say, she's no longer with us. So the work that she did was around past life regression. And she worked with a number of folks to bring forth the things and experiences that their soul experienced in other incarnations. And in her work, there are threads and through lines that she began to discover as she worked with more and more people that were starting to craft a certain story. And so in her text, the three waves of volunteers and the new earth, she talks about this idea and writes about in her work that it's believed that each of us chose to incarnate on this planet, and specifically incarnate on this planet at this time, ultimately to usher in a new earth. She writes about in the text that many of us actually answered that call, particularly when the first nuclear bomb was used on this planet, because that was a moment of crisis when you think about all of the destruction that a nuclear bomb can bring, and of course could really wipe out civilization as we know it. And there have been these three waves. So that was the first wave, right? And there have been subsequent waves since then. And it's an interesting idea to think about because it represents this idea that we are handcrafted for this season. It represents this idea that we are handcrafted for this time in human experience. But this is an idea that you can accept or reject. It doesn't matter. The truth is that we actually don't need any to understand our past lives or have some supernatural experience to teach us that we can change the world, to teach us that we can impact the world. See, we have an opportunity to shape this world in the image of love. We have an opportunity to shape this world into one that is just, that is equitable, that is inclusive, and that is harmonious. But we cannot do that if we do not know who we are. If we do not understand that we are handcrafted. We cannot do that if we think we are a mistake. We cannot do that if we think that we belong to the island of misfit toys. We just watched Rudolph the other day, and I'm sure that's why that's in my mind, right? It's an interesting thing to think about, right? But I think so often that's how folks treat themselves, right? Oh, you know you're different, but in being different, you're separating yourself. Right? And what I believe and think is that, see, those that are in power right now and those that are causing war and destruction, they're trying to make the world according to their image and likeness, right, of what they think it should be. And it is not just, it is not harmonious, it is not inclusive, right? It is none of those things. And so it's important that we understand that we have the opportunity, the power, the purpose and capability to shape this world according to those things that we want it to be. I was reminded, we saw the Renaissance film on Friday. Oh my God, awesome. Beyonce is amazing. And one of the songs that I love on the album is Alien Superstar, right, from the Renaissance album, because it's a perfect song to celebrate this uniqueness that we're talking about. It's a perfect song to celebrate the truth that we are the individualized and particularized expression of God, unique, right? And yet, I know that there are many that hear this song as a celebration of not being of this world, right? As a celebration of like, oh, we're on this other island over here. But what I would encourage those listeners to embrace is that the planet we belong to is the new earth. Right? And so maybe those that are continuing to other and create division, what if they're the aliens, right? What if those that are continuing to kill and bomb, what if they are the aliens? We are residents of the new earth, which is like the safe space. The safe space of freedom that Beyonce created through the album and through the tour. This is our home. The new earth is just. The new earth is equitable. The new earth is inclusive. The new earth loves and celebrates all beings. The new earth reminds us that we were born free. So if we are aliens, this actually is our home planet, this new earth. And each and every one of you were handcrafted for this world, to shape this world into the reality of love, into the reality of harmony, into the reality of inclusivity, into the reality of celebrating all, into the reality of safety for all, in the reality of the truth of what life really can be. But first, we have to accept this reality of who we are. Handcrafted for this world. Just as the evergreen was handcrafted for the winter season. Just as the evergreen has everything it needs to thrive, to bring color, to bring vivaciousness, right? All of these things. We don't just put up Christmas trees and garland and holly because it's pretty. See, like as what I was saying earlier, we're losing recipes. That's what we think now. Oh, well, we always put up a Christmas tree. That's why we put it up. You're supposed to put up a wreath. That's why I put up a wreath. You're supposed to put up garland. That's why I put up garland. And we don't recognize that the reason that we put it up, the reason that we inundate our subconscious mind with the beauty and the power of the evergreen is because just as it was designed for a season where everything is supposed to be frozen, fixed, stuck, and have no life, all the other trees have lost or given up their leaves. Here you have these evergreens which are still thriving, which are still prospering, because they were designed and handcrafted for that season. So it is with you. The truth that is in nature is in you, and the truth that is in you is also in nature. Now, for those of you that have a copy of the 30-Day Mental Diet, I absolutely encourage you to go to day 3 and read and reread day 3, because it taps into the vibration of this message. And even read day 3 and then go listen to Alien Superstar and then go back to the reading, because it's powerful when you start to tap into the spiritual nature behind the words. We read this in the text. To begin with, there is no one else just like you. There never has been, and there never will be another you. Nature never duplicates itself. Everything is a unique and individual expression of life. Life is expressing itself in and through you in a way that is a one-time only creation. And that's why I use the word handcrafted. You think about something that is handcrafted or hand-painted. I love to often, in this season, I love to look for things that are handcrafted or handmade. Pastor Yolanda will tell you, I usually try, one of the gifts that I usually try to give her for Christmas is something that's unique, that's handmade or handcrafted. You're not going to be able to get it anywhere else, right? And even if the artisan has made multiples of it, each one is going to be unique. There's something slightly different about it. There's something slightly unique about it that can never be created again. So that is the truth of you. Handcrafted. I mean, I trust that you really sit with that word and let it really marinate in your consciousness this week, because we don't often think about ourselves in that way. We don't often think about ourselves in the truth that there has never been and never will be another you. That's just absolutely true. Your soul is eternal. The thing that is having a human experience will have other experiences in this dimension and others on this planet and others. That's true. But the being that you are right now, the body that you possess, the expression that you are expressing right here and now, it will never exist again. Nature never duplicates itself. Looking at the principle of correspondence, we know that, and we see that in beautiful things like snow. Every flake is unique. And we can literally see that under a microscope. Every leaf is unique. And they have their own life. And the leaves then go on. They wither and die. And a brand new leaf, it may seem similar, but it's not the same leaf that was there last season. Everything is a unique and individual expression of life. That includes you. Life is expressing itself in and through you in a way that is a one-time only creation. When something is handcrafted, it cannot be duplicated. It cannot be replicated. It is one of one. In crafting you, there was care. In crafting you, there was consideration. In crafting you, there was intention. Now, you don't have to believe that you chose to be here at this time. That may actually be too much to receive, too much to accept, too much to wrap your mind around, especially when we consider what's happening in the world. It may be hard to even consider that when you think about the circumstances of your birth, or you think about your family, or you think about the city or neighborhood that you were born into. But you were handcrafted for this world. And so you may not have chosen those circumstances any more than a seedling chooses to experience winter. But everything it needs to thrive under those conditions, it already possesses. And I use that word specifically. Please hear that, right? Thrive in the harshest conditions. See, we've been taught that we can survive anything, and particularly as people of color, black and brown folks. That's been the narrative. Oh, our ancestors survived slavery, right? Oh, our ancestors survived the Middle Passage. Oh, our ancestors survived Jim Crow. But when you look at the story and you consider all of the things that black and brown people have done in this country, the United States, and all across the planet, there's a story of thriving that in my mind supersedes the surviving. Because we all have been handcrafted for this time. And so what we see is brilliance and genius being expressed in, through, in those beautiful souls that were experiencing some of the harshest conditions. We still see ways of being, things that have impacted this planet even to this day, as a result of their great minds, as a result of the three ways in which they were handcrafted for that time. This ain't about survival, y'all, right? The evergreen doesn't survive the winter. The evergreen thrives in the winter. The evergreen doesn't survive winter. The evergreen is beauty in winter. The evergreen doesn't survive winter. The evergreen is brilliance in winter. The evergreen doesn't survive winter. The evergreen is magnificence in winter. The evergreen does not survive winter. The evergreen is joy in winter. The evergreen doesn't survive winter. And so when I say that you are handcrafted for this time, hear what I'm saying. I'm saying that whatever time you find yourself in today, tomorrow, next week, next year, 10 years from now, there is something within you. There is intention within you. There is care within you. There is a beautiful design within you. And just as that plant contains everything it needed for an evergreen to thrive, I ask you to consider, as you see all of these holiday decorations, that you too contain all that you need to thrive even under harsh conditions, even under unwanted conditions, even under difficult conditions. I am so grateful and thankful for the symbol of the evergreen, because it calls us to understand something powerful about ourselves. Just as we can accept and appreciate that life itself, with intention, placed within the evergreen what it needed, knowing that the truth and power in nature is the truth and power in us, we must accept and remember that life itself placed everything within us to move through our winters, but not just move through, to thrive and be so brilliant and beautiful that people want to make use of you, to be so brilliant and beautiful that people put your picture up everywhere. They don't even know why, but it's a visual and visceral reminder of this beautiful power and truth. So powerful and true that people look to you as a lighthouse. So beautiful and wonderful that people adorn you with lights to magnify your magnificence. I am so grateful for the evergreen. Right here and now, our cities, our homes are adorned in hope, are adorned in resilience are adorned with these powerful reminders that, as I said earlier, are just hidden in plain sight. But we, with spiritual insight, see these now and know what is being communicated to us, and we can communicate this truth to others. We, with spiritual insight, now hang our wreaths with a different knowing. We, with spiritual insight, we trim our trees with a different knowing. We, with spiritual insight, we put up our garland with a different knowing. I'm grateful and thankful for this series, and we're going to deepen our awareness even more, because there's so many more truths that we get to gain by looking at the powerful symbol, the sacred symbol of the evergreen. And so to today's truth, I simply say amen